Hello, my name is Sean Moreland, and I was asked to come and speak to the community about the new SUVs that we're driving. There's a lot of question as to why we switched. I can tell you that the biggest reason we switched was because Ford no longer makes the Crown Victoria. And the Crown Victoria is that signature car that you see in all the movies that everybody recognizes, that they see that says, hey, there's the police. You can see them a mile away. And it's not because they stick out, it's just because you've seen them so long, it's just ingrained in everybody's mind. And so they stopped making these vehicles, and we started looking at all kinds of different cars. We looked at Dodge and we looked at Chevy. The front wheel drive Impalas that we had, they were good cars. They drove well in the wintertime in the snow and ice, but they were very small and cramped, and even just riding in there by yourself, it just seemed like everything was on top of you. We went to we looked at Dodge as well, and then Ford came out and they kind of made some modifications on their SUVs. They've got a wider wheelbase, so whenever we drive and we make corners, we actually drive better than we did before with the Crown Victoria. We have all-wheel drive, and those are things that are important because even in the rain, it doesn't have to be ice, but we have better traction for slowing and stopping, and our acceleration is better and more controlled. And that's the big thing, you know, we want to make sure that we're safe and we are being mindful of the public when we're out driving around. So looking over here on the inside of the car, one of the other things that's great to point out is it's a little bit taller than the Crown Victoria. I have a better vantage point to see what's going on in the community as I'm driving around. I can see people better. I don't feel like I am looking up to truck drivers anymore. I feel like I can just look over and they're right here and I'm seeing them eye to eye. There's a lot more room inside of the vehicle. We have, there are many times we have two people in the car, and it could be because we have a field training officer with a new recruit, a new employee, and we need to be with them all the time. And whenever you put all the equipment that we carry as we go through, and you'll see all these different equipment, it just makes for very tight quarters whenever there are two people inside of that vehicle. We can also look at the back end here where we transport our arrestees or detainees, and there's a lot more legroom. Even a person my size it was very tight and restrictive. And so whenever we'd arrest somebody that was 6'5", or maybe a little heavier than the normal average person, it was very difficult for them to get in, and then for them to get back out was even harder. And so this is one of those things that's kind of a win-win for both sides. I mean, the suspects have more room and we have more room, and we just want to make sure that we're safe and we can transport people in a safe manner. If you'll notice here in the back, we've got a little caged area, a wall-off area. We've got bars on the back of the windows. I don't know if you can see, but there are no controls on the panels of these doors, and that is, it may seem obvious to some and not obvious to others, but we don't want them to be able to open the door and get out. We have bars on the window because sometimes people will break the glass. Sometimes whenever it's really hot, we'll roll the windows down and we want to make sure that they have airflow back here, and so they can't get out. This is all to make sure that they're safe and we're safe. We still have seat belts. We have hard seats in the back, and there's no cushion, and that's not to make it uncomfortable for the suspect that's being transported, but that's simply to make sure that it's easier for us to clean. Sometimes we're involved in situations that are not the cleanest. Some people might be intoxicated, and they could have gotten muddy, or there may be vomit. And see, these are all things that we can wipe these cars out and go on, and we don't have to worry about it soaking into the inside of the car. So what I'm going to do is talk to you about some of the stuff that we have in the back of the vehicle, and we'll just go through it as it's put out here. Now, as you can see, there's a lot of equipment back here, and all of it fit inside of the back of this SUV. What's interesting is it all fit in the back of the Crown Victoria as well, but it was a tight fit, and sometimes you had to move a lot of different stuff just to get something out. And this, I can get to every single thing without having to move 5 other things in my car. So we'll just start from the driver's side of the car here. We've got a broom. We have brooms because sometimes whenever we go out on accidents, there's broken glass, or sometimes there's a liquid leak, and the leak is getting all over the road. So we put floor dry out and we'll help sweep that up. We will sweep the glass off the road. Sometimes we don't need a record driver to respond, and so we will clean up the mess that's out there on our own. We have a Stinger spike system. It's a tire deflation system, and I'm going to explain that here later. But if you want to zoom in, we have a whole bunch of metal straws, and they're very, very sharp. And so what we do is we throw this across a lane of traffic, and we deploy, and whenever the suspect vehicle that's trying to run away from us, when they run over this, these tubes go into the tire because they're very sharp, and then they slowly deflate the tire so the driver doesn't lose control of the vehicle, because we're not trying to kill anybody, we're simply trying to stop them from fleeing. And so this gives them time to realize, hey, I'm losing air pressure, I'm losing the ability to drive as well as I was, and so a lot of times they'll stop. Sometimes they will continue and they'll drive on the rims for a little while, but those are not built to be on the road, so they don't last very long. I have a bag back here in the back, and it simply carries paper sacks, plastic sacks that we have, and that's for evidence collection. And it's just so we can keep things separate, because sometimes if I have drugs or things that I need to be tested, or blood that I need to be tested, I don't want to throw it all in one bag, so I need several different bags. The little black box here is an evidence collection kit. It has a graphite powder and a feather duster, and we use that to look for fingerprints. We have cards and tape, so we can lift those fingerprints and then put them on the white card, and it becomes very visible. And again, that's something that we would put in evidence, and we can send off to the KBI for identification. This is a bodyguard system, and we use this on combative suspects whenever they're fighting us and they won't calm down. We put this on them so we don't get hurt. It makes it easier for us to move them from point A to point B. And also, it keeps them from hurting themselves, because as I just showed you in the back of the car, there's not a lot of soft spots. And so you could easily hurt yourself in the back of the patrol vehicle. This is a roller tape, and this is just when we're out on accident scenes or crime scenes where we need to note how far something is from something else. We will use this if it's longer than 100 feet. We've got a tape over here that's a 100-foot tape. I have a biohazard bag that has a suit and some mask equipment, and that is so if I go into a house that is very, very a large biohazard, a place that's could be contaminated, something that I don't want to get into my body or take home to my family, I'll put on this suit. We have road flares, and those are used simply to give us a wider berth whenever we're out on traffic accidents, or even if we're on a big crime scene and we need to kind of close off an area. These grab people's attention, and most people understand that if there's road flares, they don't want to go in that area, or they understand they're not supposed to go in that area. Right here is a very unique item that the Salina Police Department has. I've been here for over 15 years, and we've been using these the entire time I've been here, and we call it Bears on Patrol. And what we do is we have these little stuffed animals that we give to children whenever we're out on a crime scene or a traffic accident. Maybe I'm just out on a call and the child seems concerned or scared. We can use these little bears, and it kind of makes things a little easier for them to deal with, and it, puts a human side to what we're doing. We have gas masks right here, and these are used whenever we have to go into an area that maybe we have deployed an irritant, and we need to take somebody into custody, and obviously we don't want to get it on ourselves, because then we can't control what's going on, and we need to be able to get in there and stop what's happening. So we use these to keep the OC, pepper spray, mace, however you want to call it, off of us. I have traffic cones, and what I have out here is this is inside of this box, and these are expandable. They have batteries inside with lights that light up, and so the cones illuminate. We've used the smaller orange cones for many years, but these are they're reflective. They just get a hold of people's attention, and they let them know that, hey, we need you to not drive through this area, or they guide you where to drive. We have flashlights, and I mean, everybody knows that you want to use flashlights whenever we're out on calls at night, but we also use them when we're doing traffic control, and so we turn these on, and the wand illuminates a bright orange, and it lets everybody know, hey, I want you to go a particular direction. This is a preliminary breath test, and we use this when we're on incidents where there is a suspicion that somebody's under the influence of alcohol. And so we use this to confirm what we already believe, and we've gone through testing. We also sometimes use these whenever we're called out to parties where there may be some people underage drinking. We've been given the dog leash from the animal shelter, and this is just so we can put a collar or get a hold of an animal and bring them in, put them in the back of our patrol vehicle, maybe just hold on to them in the shade until animal control can come out and pick them up. We have a small first aid kit. We have a pepper spray dispenser that's larger than the one we carry in our belt. And this is just to give us a little, if we have a larger crowd of people that we need to take care of, if maybe a bar erupted into a fight and we needed to get people out and they were out in the street, or there was some big conflict going on and we needed to move people along, we would ask them, and if they refused, then this is something that we may try to deploy. We have the standard shovel, and it may seem strange to see a police officer with a shovel, but there are times whenever we've gone out in the wintertime and it's snowy and we've gotten stuck or somebody else is stuck, and so we can go out and help them and get them out of the snow. And you have all probably seen us out there pushing cars in the wintertime whenever they get stuck in the snow. So that is what we would use this for. This is a bike rack that's kept inside of the trunk back here in the back end. We use this to carry found property, or maybe somebody gets arrested and they have got a bicycle. Well, we're not just going to leave it for somebody to steal it, so we bring it in and we put it in the police evidence room until we can locate the owner and return it. All right, so the last thing that I want to speak to everybody about in reference to what we carry in the trunks of our patrol vehicles is the R137. This is a 37mm baton that we can shoot from a standoff distance that gives us the ability to take control of the subject without putting our officers in harm's way. The old Chief Hill, went to a couple of different conferences many years ago, and he had witnessed and seen video in which there were problems with a subject having a knife or a sword, and officers at the time were using shotgun rounds with beanbags inside of them for the projectile. Well, sometimes those beanbag rounds weren't very effective. Sometimes they didn't fly the right way. They would, because the beanbag's flat, and so the aerodynamics of the projectile would take it off target. And so we looked into getting a projectile launching device that would get us on target every single time, and we could be at much greater distances. We can shoot this accurately beyond 50 yards. So this is something that we can shoot, we can keep our officers safe, and it's going to incapacitate the subject so we can come in and take control of them and keep them from harming themselves. And this is not something that we would randomly shoot at somebody. We would do this to keep them from harming themselves or somebody else. If we don't want to kill that person, we have an option in our tool belt, in our toolkit that we keep in our trunk. Arwen, Arwen, Arwen! Arwen, Arwen, Arwen! Arwen, Arwen, Arwen! Okay, so what I have here is the spent case from the R137. As you can see, it's a pretty good sized cartridge, but it mimics a normal pistol round in size anyways. And here is the round or the projectile that comes out. If you could see, there's some striations on these bands, and there's actually rifling inside of the barrel of the weapon. So as it goes down range or goes down the barrel, it spins, and they help to keep the round on target. And so as you can see, I can accurately hit the belt area over and over. So I hope this answers any questions that any of you may have. Reference the items we carry in this Atlanta Police Department's patrol vehicles.